Forgotten, The Frozen North, Chapter 10, Best Laid Plans, Part 1. A long time ago.
The weather aside, I can see that this place hasn't changed all that much,
Luna commented as they approached the Crystal Castle.
Well, you haven't seen the inside. The decorators are always asking me for something to change. A room, a hall, a floor.
Flurry replied, rolling her eyes at the memories of keeping her interior decorators happy and occupied. She had almost always agreed to their requests, so long as they left her quarters alone. They entered the castle, which was a double set of doors built into the supporting archways, with stairs that immediately took them up to what was considered the ground floor. They passed through the doors and laid their eyes on the crystal heart, floating and slowly rotating in between its two pedestals. Before she left, Flurry had ordered the large window curtains weighed down to the best of their ability to keep some of the wind out of the room. The Crystal Princess slowly approached the heart, seeing her reflection in the facets as it slowly turned in midair.
So I suppose the ball is in my court again. I just wish I knew what the next step was,
she admitted.
I assumed that as the Princess of the Crystal Empire, you would be the expert on your kingdom's most sacred and central artifacts,
Luna argued.
Expert might be a stretch, Princess Luna. Yes, I probably know more than anyone else in the kingdom, but I think it's likely we're going to need to study generations worth of research material on the history of the Crystal Hearts. No doubt. As of right now, we know 4 things.
Luna began, stepping up to her.
1. The Crystal Heart is ethereal in nature. 2. It is perpetually powered by the light and love of the citizens of the Empire. 3. It can be shattered by the cries of an alicorn foal.
The former Princess of the Night said with a smirk, and Flurry's cheeks tinted red at embarrassment at the memory.
And 4. It can be put back together again. But if your premonition is accurate, it can't simply come apart. It has to take on a different form, 3 of them to be precise. So what do you say to dinner and a study session in the library?
Flurry asked.
I'd like that very much, Princess. I have always felt that my cooking has left something to be desired,
Luna quipped. Giving Luna a soft smile, they made their way up another flight of stairs, where the dining room and castle kitchen were located.
I am having another thought, Flurry,
Luna told her as they climbed the staircase.
I'm all ears,
The Crystal Princess replied.
How quickly can you have the city evacuated?
Luna asked, right to the point. Flurry gave her a look of concern, but also came to quickly understand the gravity of the situation. If they started messing with the heart, successful or not, the Crystal Empire and her citizens would almost certainly be put at risk.
With the Friendship Express, Crystal Express, and using all available wagons and carriages? 6 to 8 hours. Do you think it will come to that? It would probably be the best precautionary path to take, Your Highness. If we succeed in manipulating and changing the Crystal Hearts in whatever manner that we set out to, the magical energy contained within may not be able to protect the region from the surrounding weather any longer.
Due to the worsening weather, hot creamy soups were becoming more popular in the castle. They spotted Spike as soon as they entered the dining room and joined him in line. Good to see you again so soon, Princess Luna, Spike greeted, and Flurry immediately assumed that he was the one that had arranged and delivered Luna's periodical supplies.
You as well, Spike,
Luna replied. The 3 of them each got a bowl of steamy fancy onion soup, and went to an isolated table, instead of making the trip up to Flurry's private dining room. So, have you 2 figured anything out about your premonitions? Spike asked as he started into his soup.
We've just begun to. We're visiting the castle library as soon as we're done here. I don't want to raise any pony stress, but I think we should act as if we have a matter of days instead of weeks or months. I'm not sure how long we have before the weather becomes a survival issue, but we need answers, and very soon. Spike, while Flurry and I are in the library, I want you to go over citywide evacuation plans with the Crystal Guard. Discreetly. We don't want to panic,
Luna told him. You got it. I don't think it'll come to that, and I'm sure it's already on the mind of most ponies here because this blizzard hasn't let up for 2 weeks, Spike replied. The 2 alicorns said nothing more as they ate silently, contemplating their next moves. Your Majesties, everything will be fine. I'm sure you 2 will figure it out. Chapter 11, Best Laid Plans, Part 2. Luna perused one of the many bookshelves in the Crystal Castle's royal library. She recalled distant memories of when she, her sister, Twilight, and Cadence attempted to find an answer for piecing the Crystal Heart back together after an infant Flurry had shattered it. It felt like so long ago, even for some pony her age. The sound of the large entry doors opening pulled her attention away from the current shelf of books. and she leaned out into the main reading area where Princess Flurryheart was coming down the stairs to the nearest table.
I think I found something. I always thought it was a memento of his years here, and I never bothered to read it. And it took some digging to find.
Flurry said, as Luna came down to the table she took a seat at. The Crystal Princess pulled a book out of her saddlebags and gently set it on the table. Musings on the Crystal Hearts by Crystaller Sunburst.
Sunburst wrote a book?
Luna asked.
When I got older and he had to do less and less for me on a daily basis, he had a lot of free time. That was before Starlight offered him the position of Vice Head Stallion of Twilight's Friendship School. I guess this is what he did. Maybe he had a feeling that I'd need this someday.
Flurry said, as she opened the front cover, coming to the very personalized preface on the first page.
My dearest Flurryheart, it has been a privilege, an adventure, and an honor seeing you grow these last few years. Knowing that my expertise of the arcane helps shape and guide you towards your future is a pride I will carry with me for the rest of my days. I don't know if you will ever need the information contained within these pages, Flurry, but in case you do, I have endeavored to create a compilation of absolutely every bit of information I have ever found on the history and function of the Crystal Hearts, which you have been destined to watch over. If you ever find yourself in need of the knowledge I have gathered here, I pray it makes all the difference. Best of luck and all of my love, Sunburst.
Flurry smiled gently at her mentor's message, and she turned the page again to the contents that he had listed out, and again to the first chapter.
The Crystal Heart is one of the most ancient and powerful magical artifacts in all of Equestria. It has deeper ties to the magical realm of Aetherius than even Grogar's Bewitching Bell, Aurora's Amulet, or the Helm of Yixlur. Powered and sustained by the love of the Crystal Empire citizens, the Heart's power of alteration is so great that it has made a considerable swath of the Arctic North perfectly livable and protected from the normally fatally harsh weather of the region. One has to wonder if it is always dependent on the love of the surrounding populace, though. Clearly, the Hearts can be altered and the surrounding area can still be protected due to King Sombra's unfortunate reign. He has hidden the Crystal Heart away, and yet it still managed to keep the surrounding area livable. The Crystal Heart itself is carved from pure Aetherium. Shaping and handling the same elements is best left to the most studied of mages unless you care little for your corporeal form and the stability of your immediate surroundings. Another demonstration of the Heart's alteration properties is how it seems to crystallize surrounding beings during expenditure of magical energy. Not in the petrifying sense, mind you, but the glimmering, sparkling, transparent sense. It is really quite fascinating. Because of these transformative powers, it is my theory that the Heart has perhaps a stronger connection with Aetherius than perhaps any other artifact. If the time ever came that it wouldn't need to protect the Crystal Empire from the frozen North's lethal weather, I would also theorize that it could no doubt be used for other purposes. Other purposes?
Luna said, reading Sunburst's opening passage after Flurry slid the book across to her.
If the very specific magic can put it back together after being shattered like it was, maybe magic can help turn it into something else. Into those 3 other gems.
Flurry told Luna.
Well, that still doesn't solve the question of the Wendigos. We should probably attempt to find material on that as well.
Luna suggested.
Good idea. I'll start on that. You continue reading through this to see how we could possibly use the Heart against them.
Flurry got up from the table just as Spike was coming in with some drinks and snacks, figuring that the 2 princesses would be in here for quite a while.
Oh, Spike, good. Get that stuff set on a separate table and then help me find books with any entries on Wendigos.
Flurry told the dragon. After an hour, they had a few books stacked on the center table, all of them from ancient explorers and modern-day archaeologists and historians. The origins of the Wendigos was widely believed to be hearth-warming fable of Snowfall Frost. But as was clearly revealed nearly a century ago when Canterlot was briefly invaded, the mythical bringers of the Fatal Freeze are very much real. With how the harmonious magic of Twilight, her friends, and her students banished them without a trace, I believe they originate from somewhere beyond the physical plane. Aetherius, perhaps the source of all magic? Flurry read the passage over again, and Luna noticed her begin to lose herself in thought.
Flurry, do you have something?
Luna asked.
I'm not sure, but I did just think of something.
The Crystal Princess replied.
Do tell.
The Princess of the Night responded.
We are already fairly certain that we're not going to be able to put a stop to the unrest down south. And equestrian magic is already beginning to fade, as evidenced by what happened to Cloudsdale. Yes, and?
Luna asked.
What if we preempted the rest of it? If we cut off Equus from Aetherius, then the Wendigos would vanish.
Spike and Luna looked at her with dumbfounded expressions.
It would work, wouldn't it? No magic, no Wendigos, right?
Flurry asked, sliding the open book towards Luna, who ignored it and continued staring at the Crystal Princess.
Flurry, what you are suggesting is precisely what Koziglu attempted when you were just a foal. It's preposterous.
Luna answered.
Is it? It would mean that when the unrest happens, that they won't be able to use magic against each other, and without Wendigos, then there would always be the opportunity to heal those bonds. At least they would get the chance instead of freezing or starving to death.
Flurry argued.
Child.
Luna began, only for Flurry to hold up a hoof.
I am not a child anymore, Luna. I know what I'm suggesting. Do you? Then allow me to be just as pragmatic. If the unrest down south is as inevitable as you claim, then do you honestly believe it would stop without magic? It would not, Flurry. If they don't use magic, then they'll use hooves and whatever they can get their hooves on. Do you understand?
Luna asked.
Yes, I do. Rioting, fighting, civil war maybe. It's frightening, and it breaks my heart knowing that that is where things are likely heading.
Flurry said firmly. She pointed a hoof towards the nearest window.
But this storm is not stopping. So either we evacuate with the rest of our citizens and try our best to avoid the bloodshed until we starve or freeze, or we try and follow our premonitions and do what we can up here to give them the hope and possibility of a future when the fires of hatred burn themselves out and the smoke clears.
Luna and Spike saw the undying determination in Flurry's eyes.
So, what's it going to be?
And when it comes to limited options, there isn't much of modifying them to have the best case scenario. I can only guess that sometimes you just gotta go through with it, and later on clean up the mess. Anywho, let's get on to our organized donators. Top donators are 630, Jayton Man, Darkside, Only One Thing, and Ceru Orion. Rayden, Narwhals, Blackmoonheart, Pastel Skies, Austin Rolan, Stu Hex, Sword Brother and Mordred, Omicron, Lyrae, Will, Chris, Twinkie, Zaza, Riot Soul, Iron Sky, Badass Waffle, Shadow Moon, Luigi88, and many more beautiful people. Thank you all so much for watching this video and live life to the fullest.